All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I want to give a special thanks to Dr. 3196. Thanks a lot, my man. I really appreciate your support and generosity. It's very much appreciated. In this video here, I'm going to talk about how the media, especially fans too, they love to talk about how Michael Jordan didn't have any competition, he didn't really beat anybody, blah, blah, blah. But why do they never talk about, and I mean never, bring up the fact that Michael Jordan never took a bad loss? And a bad loss is when you have home court advantage, or if you're favored by Vegas, whatever you want to call it. Never did Michael Jordan team ever get beat in that situation. And the same cannot be said for any superstar you want to name. Bill Russell in 1958 played half the series. You could say that he lost it. Technically, yeah, but he only played half the series. I'd never hold it against him, but okay, that one there, you could hold it against him. George Mikan, when they won 5 out of 6 championships back in the early 50s, even they got upset by the Rochester Royals. But Jordan's record was unblemished. No inferior team beat a Michael Jordan team. It never happened. But no one ever talks about that. In fact, listen to Shannon Sharpe here in this video clip talking about, again, Jordan didn't play anybody. Again, with this didn't play anybody crap. But only in the finals. In their minds, that's all that matters. Because that's where LeBron had his toughest competition. So you have to go to the finals. That's just how it is. Because he got beat so bad in a lot of those finals, he's going to go to only the finals. Here you go.
So let me ask you a question. Has there ever been a time when Michael Jordan showed up in an NBA Finals and you literally looked at him and said, yo, he didn't show up?
He didn't even play nobody.
Come on.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to do it like this here.
Sure.
Tell me the guy that he faced that was the equivalent of Kevin Durant.
So yeah, that's Shannon Sharpe, the idiot, talking about, oh, Jordan didn't beat anybody, man. Who did he play better than Kevin Durant? Oh, I don't know, maybe Shaq. I would say he was better than Kevin Durant. Karl Malone, absolutely better than Kevin Durant. No doubt in my mind. What about Magic Johnson? No? And then if we want to talk outside the finals, you got Larry Bird, you got Charles Barkley. There's some really great players. He actually played Barkley in the finals in '93. He played him, I think, 3 times total throughout the course of his career. But the point is, Jordan did play some very good competition. The teams that they love to crap on, like Utah, a bunch of goofy white guys, oh yeah, Utah was nobody. They think that Jordan's resume would have been bolstered by beating a team that had a certain player on it. They don't go by beating how good a team is. No. Now the narrative has changed to, if Jordan and the Bulls in 96 and 98, if they would have beaten Akeem Olajuwon in either 96 or 97, along with Clyde Drexler, say when Olajuwon and them were going for the three-peat in 96. Now they got beat by Seattle, but in 97 they had Olajuwon, Barkley, and Drexler. That would look better on Jordan's resume, according to these guys, if Jordan would have played Houston and beat them. Or in 98, had they played Robinson and Duncan, or Kobe and Shaq. If they would have played them instead of Utah, the best team in the West, the number 1 overall seed in the NBA. No, it would have been better had they beat those guys. That's the fallacy that these guys are trying to portray. The fact is, nobody could beat Utah. They destroyed everybody in the West. They were rolling. They won the last 2 games of the Houston series in the first round. They then beat the Spurs 4 out of 5. Then they swept Shaq and Kobe. Might have been young Kobe, but he was still an all-star, and they swept them. And then they won game 1 of the finals against the Bulls. So in that range, that's 11-1 over a 12-game stretch. But they're bums, right? Because they didn't have 3 or 4 Hall of Famers. Players who get in the Hall of Fame, that are the 3rd and 4th and even 5th best players on a team, are the teams that are dynasties. Manu Ginobili, in no universe would he be an NBA Hall of Famer for me. He's a very good player. Was he better than Kevin Johnson? Better than Mark Price? No. Was he better than Penny Hardaway? No, he was not. better than Sean Kemp? He wasn't. So in my mind, the players that make the Hall of Fame, like a Michael Cooper, no way is that guy Hall of Fame. Bill Laimbeer is either getting in or close to getting in. No, but because they won those championships, now he's getting consideration. That's what's going on here. If Dennis Johnson didn't win 3 championships, he would have been Paul Pressey or somebody like that. I mean, he might have been a little better than him, but you see my point. Alvin Robertson, he would have been Alvin Robertson, something like that. That's what he would have been. But no, because he won those championships, got a finals MVP, which has just this humongous amount of weight to it now, he would never have been in the Hall of Fame. I guarantee it. All those Boston Celtics from the 60s. You're telling me Frank Ramsey, Casey Jones, those guys are in the Hall of Fame. If they didn't play on the Celtics, we know better. So I'm going to give you some teams. Now, these were dynasties that took bad losses. Start with the 1983 Boston Celtics. They were 56-26, the third net rated team in the NBA. They lost 4-0, swept out to Milwaukee, who was 51-31. That's an inferior team, and they got swept by them. No injuries at all for Boston. That's a bad loss, any way you slice it. Now, Larry Bird was on a team, I think it was 1990, where they were up 2-0 in a best of 5, and the Knicks came back and beat them 3 in a row. That was also technically a bad loss too, but that one there, that 4-game sweep, that's not good. How about the Lakers of the 80s? They're a dynasty, right? They didn't get by without suffering bad losses. In 1981, the Lakers, they were 54-28 in large part because Magic had injuries earlier in the year and missed a bunch of games. But even still, the Lakers got beat by Houston, who was a 40-42 team. Now, granted, that was a weird series that was the best of 3. They lost 2-1, though. On that team in 81, you had Michael Cooper, who was second team all-defense, finished 24th for MVP. You had Norm Nixon, who finished 21st for MVP. Magic Johnson finished 11th for MVP, despite missing a bunch of games. Jamal Wilkes, who was an all-star that year, was 10th for MVP. And then, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 3rd for MVP, first team All-NBA, and first team defense. They suffered a bad loss, for sure. Also, 1986 Lakers, 62-20. First rated offense, 7th rated defense, 3rd rated net team. They had Michael Cooper, who was 4th for Defensive Player of the Year. James Worthy, who was 12th for MVP and All-Star. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was first team All-NBA, finished 5th for MVP. Magic Johnson, first team All-NBA, finished 3rd for MVP. 2 top 5 for MVP. And they lost in the Western Conference Finals 4-1 against Houston, a 51-31 team. Clearly an inferior team. Now, they weren't a bad team. They were actually playing good ball. But that's a bad loss. There was teams that were hot that Michael Jordan played. They just weren't hot enough. Another dynasty, the Spurs. They won 99, 03, 05, 07, and then they won again in 14. For some reason, that continuation of 2014, LeBron fans call that a dynasty because they won one single title in 7 years. That's part of what they did from 99 to 07? Ridiculous. But even still, the Spurs, in between all this winning, right? Part of the dynasty, like you guys say. The 2009 San Antonio Spurs were 54-28. They lost to Dallas, who was a 50-32 team, in 5 games. Gentlemen swept. Dirk finished 10th for MVP. So it's not like he had some MVP or just outside the top for MVP season. He didn't. The 2011 San Antonio Spurs, 61-21. They were the 2nd offensive rated team, the 4th net rated team. They lost in 6 games to Memphis, 46-36 teams. They had no Hall of Famers and no MVP candidates, no one on the MVP ballot. That's a bad loss. They were the 8th seed. San Antonio is the 1. A horrible loss for a dynasty. You never saw Jordan lose anything like this. How about LeBron James, the alleged GOAT? 2009 Cleveland, 66-16, the number 1 net rated team. LeBron has another All-Star. They lose to Orlando, a 59-23 team. They had a 16-point lead in the halftime of game 1. Ended up losing 4-2. Orlando had one Hall of Famer, Dwight Howard. Since that's such a big deal, how is that not a monumental upset? The Cavs swept the first 2 rounds. Swept them. Then they get to play Orlando and they lose in 6 after having a 16-point halftime lead in game 1? What? That's not a monumental upset, huge upset? Cleveland was the number 1 net rated team, 39-2 at home. And then all Shannon Sharpe or Nick Wright or Colin Cowherd will talk about is, oh, well, his teammates, they weren't that good, blah, 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 blah. They were the number 1 net rated team. You cannot achieve that alone. Impossible. No way to do that. How about the 2010 Cleveland Cavaliers? 61-21, the number 2 net rated team. And they added Anton Jamison 2/3 of the way through the season. Got better, no doubt. They had Mo Williams, Anton Jamison, Shaq, and LeBron. People can say, oh, well, Shaq was old. Shaquille O'Neal on that team in 2010 was the same age as Dennis Rodman in 1998. Look it up. He's 2 months older than Rodman was in 98. And Shaq is coming off an all-NBA season in 2009 when he played for Phoenix. Look that up. So if LeBron's unable to maximize Shaquille O'Neal, even at that age, that's on him. But he was on that roster. They got beat by Boston, a 50-32 team. Ray Allen was 2 months away from being 35 years old. They love to talk about the ages of the Pistons in 91, Lakers in 91. They love to talk about the ages of them. What about the age of these guys? Kevin Garnett's 34 years old, clearly not in his prime anymore. Paul Pierce was 32 and a half, the big 3, right? Well, they were up 2-1 in that series, and they got beat by an inferior team. They had home court advantage. They absolutely should have won that series. Boston was playing pretty good ball, and yeah, they did take the Lakers 7, but ultimately they got beat. This notion that Boston was somehow not old, but the 91 Pistons, 91 Lakers, yeah, they were old, sure. But somehow Boston wasn't old is a joke. How about the 2011 Miami Heat? They were the number 1 net rated team in the NBA, okay? They got a 2-1 lead in the finals. Now they're, I think, 58-24 team, and Dallas was a 57-25 team. Going by record, sure, Miami had a better record by 1 game. They had home court advantage. That's what it's really all about. As you're a superstar, and you have home court advantage, you got to win. Like Nikola Jokic last night. He may not have played great or whatever, but he won. At home, he won game 7. Now, last year, that didn't happen, and that's got to be some kind of a black mark. But this year, he made up for it. He won that game 7. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what home court advantage is for. And lastly, 2025 Lakers. They played Minnesota. Lakers the 3 seed, Minnesota the 6 seed. I know these teams were close in record and all that. If you look at it by the roster, it actually looks like it's a pretty even matchup, right? Vegas didn't think that. Vegas put the Lakers to win that series as a -200 favorite to win that series. So you got to lay $200 to win 100. That's 2-1 in my book. That's a favorite. Maybe not a huge favorite, but a favorite. Definitive favorite. And I went through and looked. The people that picked the Lakers: Nick Wright, Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. Smith, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Steve Smith. The list goes on and on and on. Brendan Haywood, all these people, Kenny Smith, they all picked the Lakers to win. They didn't. They got beat. Jay Williams, Mike Greenberg, all these people predicted the Lakers. And of course, Jabba the Hutt, Brian Windhorst also. When it comes to Michael Jordan, he was 24-0 with home court advantage. Here's the closest that a Michael Jordan team came to taking a bad loss. Here's the first one.
By Harper. Watch him pull up for the 3. Price with Paxson in his face hits the three-point shot. And it's 104-101. 33 seconds to go. Price hit it with Paxson in his face. Now, Charles Oakley got the big rebound for Chicago, and Jordan is fouled by Price. 7 points in the game. That'll be the biggest rebound of tie. Rebound Oakley. And that'll do it. The Bulls advance. They'll play the winner of the Detroit-Washington game. And Michael Jordan with 39 points. The Bulls advance.
That was 1988, first round against Cleveland. It went 5 games. As you saw, Jordan hit the clutch free throws when they were down 3. He needed to make at least 1. He sunk them both. They won that game. That was close, no doubt, but not that close. I mean, it wasn't down to the last possession or anything like that. The Bulls had the game. I mean, they were up by 3 with Jordan on the line with 7 seconds to go. It was over. The next one is here.
Checkets for Ernie Grunfeld of the Knicks staff. There's Jordan. Michael Jordan with 42 points.
If Oakley and Jordan going to be his closest friends in the summertime after this series.
Well, the two teams do shake hands as they head back to their respective locker room. The Chicago Bulls have defeated the New York Knicks 110-81 to take this grueling series in 7.
That was the 92 Knicks, who played a really good series. That was a 67-win Bulls team. They pushed them 7, but the Bulls annihilated them in Game 7. Jordan had, 42 points, they said. I think they won 108-81, something like that. They annihilated them. Not really that close. I'd say so far Cleveland is the closest one to giving Michael Jordan a bad loss. And the last one, the team that I think came the closest, was these guys.
Match for Kerr because he can bag Kerr into the...
McKee looks to get it in. Reggie running off screens, but it's Smits with a quick turnaround and miss. Dale Davis can't hit the tip. Longley has it, protects the ball, and on to the finals. For the 6th time in 8 years, go the Chicago Bulls.
The 98 Eastern Conference Finals, Pacers and Bulls. I purposely left it on the clock with just over 5 minutes to go. And you saw that was a tie game with 5 minutes to go. Pacers were absolutely in that game, no question. But the Bulls made a late surge, their experience, whatever you want to call it. They pulled that one out. They won it in 7. I think they were running on fumes by then. But, hey, they won it, and that was as close as anybody came, was that 98 Eastern Conference Finals, to giving Michael Jordan an upset and a bad loss. Every other loss, the other 7 losses, were teams that had home court advantage and had at least 4 wins better than the Bulls were. At least 4 wins. Most of them, though, it was a huge disparity. But that's as close as anybody came was that 98 Pacers. So all these idiots on here love to talk about, Jordan's competition, and all they're focusing on is the finals and the 2017 Warriors. Jordan never played a team as good as 17 Warriors. They never played a juggernaut because they were the juggernaut. And they did not take a bad loss. Golden State took bad losses. 2019, yeah, they didn't have Kevin Durant, but they were still favored to win it, even without Durant. They lost in 6. In 2016, they blew a 3-1 lead. I know, Curry was hobbled, Draymond Green got suspended, but they still blew a 3-1 lead. That's how it's going to go down, no doubt about it. And also, Curry's got a chance. You'll know tomorrow morning. I'm making this before that Game 7 tonight, but Curry's got a chance to win a Game 7. He beat Sacramento on the road a couple years ago. We'll see if he can do it again. Maybe he can. But I'm just saying that Curry has taken a couple of bad losses as well, where he was favored, where he had home court advantage, and he lost. In the 4 finals they played without Durant, they split 2-2. Take that for what it's worth. So that's all I got for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked it, please hit the like button. If you wouldn't mind sharing the video, that would be great. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I give daily content. And that's it. Until next time.